Boots used to say to me, he would say, John, you're playing the changes, he'd say. Now I want to hear you play not the changes. Say, what do you mean? He'd say, I don't know. But I want to hear you play beyond the changes, above the changes. And we talk about free music and how fascinating it was. He was so into that concept of free jazz.
The 1940s through the 50s marked a period in history when jazz musicians began pushing the limits of what music could be. Ignoring the boundaries of mainstream swing music, jazz became more complex, more dissonant, and a lot faster. In the wake of World War II, very few could keep up with the breakneck pace at which jazz was evolving. However, one man by the name of Boots from the small town of Milford, Massachusetts was keeping up just fine. Known to many as the Music Man from Milford and Mr. Jazz, Enrico Henry William Mussulli was born on the banks of the Charles River in 1915. At the age of 18, Boots got his first break when he was hired by Mal Hallett, the Boston-based orchestra leader famous for employing up-and-coming musicians. Over the next 20 years or so, Boots played with big-name conductors such as Teddy Powell and Stan Kenton in their orchestras. He played the alto saxophone alongside jazz greats of the time like Gene Krupa, Lee Konitz, Bud Shank, Art Pepper, and Lenny Niehaus. Boots also scored multiple Hollywood films, most of which were musicals, such as Talk About a Lady, which featured big swing and jazz arrangements by Boots himself. Throughout these fast years, Boots managed to maintain a solid connection to his hometown of Milford, raising 4 children with his high school sweetheart, and in the meantime, formed music groups with local Milford musicians. His longtime friend and mentor, Leo Curran, said Boots was not one to shun responsibility. He could have said later to this small-town atmosphere and take off for the big city and play the jazz he loved so well. But he didn't. Instead, in 1949, when the bebop explosion cooled off, Boots started his own jazz club in Milford called the Crystal Room. The club was used to bring all the famous friends he had made over the years to his hometown. The Crystal Room was just a low-ceiling community hall, but it managed to bring in jazz musicians who were touring around the country, usually with the promise of a home-cooked meal and a tank of gas.
As a matter of fact, there were more famous jazz acts there per week than there were in Boston at that time. There might be one band like Duke might be appearing in Boston Friday and Saturday night, but he'd be playing at the Crystal Room on Thursday night. He would call up and say, okay, I'm not going to pay the Friday, Saturday night, Sunday night price of Duke Ellington's band. What do you got for a gas night? You need to fill in? Give me a Tuesday or a Monday or something.
The Duke was just one of the many jazz greats Boots hosted at the Crystal Room. Others included Dizzy Gillespie, Count Basie, the 4 Freshmen, and Charlie Parker, who often frequented spaghetti night at the Mussulli household. During his time with the Crystal Room, Boots had a studio where he would teach saxophone and arranging to local students. He also started a youth orchestra in Milford, saying he wanted to pass on his knowledge to the youngsters. The orchestra went on to perform at the Newport Jazz Festival in the summer of '67, playing the biggest jazz standards of the day just as well as any other big band. After having spent his life giving back to the greater Worcester community, Boots is remembered as a resourceful and forward-thinking musician who loved who he taught and what he did.